You know, we often overlook the weight of a single message. In the rush of modern relationships, where texts are sent, seen, and forgotten within seconds, it's easy to believe that what we type doesn't matter much. But this is where so many people get it wrong. A well thought out message written with intention has the power to echo in someone's mind for hours, sometimes even for days. And when it comes to romantic connection, especially with a woman who values emotional depth, the smallest message can become the loudest memory. This is not about manipulation. This is about mindfulness. The human mind is deeply responsive to emotional cues, especially the ones that arrive when they're least expected. Think about it for a moment. Most phones are flooded with routine notifications, work emails, group chats, and endless reminders. But when she opens her phone and sees something that doesn't demand her attention, but instead gives her attention, you've broken the pattern. You've broken the pattern. You've disrupted the noise with presence, and that sticks. Psychologists call this the emotional contrast effect. In simple terms, it means we notice and remember the things that stand out, especially when they touch us emotionally. Let's look deeper. The female brain neurologically is wired for connection. Studies in interpersonal neurobiology show that women tend to process of the emotions using both sides of tone, which most nuance nuance and subtext. So when you send a message that's thoughtful, not just hey or wide, but something that shows you truly see her, you're speaking directly to the part of her that craves emotional safety. And whether she admits it or not, she will feel a shift. That message becomes a signal. It doesn't just say, I'm thinking of you. It says, I'm thinking about you. There's a difference. This is why lazy communication never builds lasting intimacy. If your words don't carry intention, they dissolve into the background noise of her day. But when your words carry weight, when they are rooted in sincerity and presence, they leave a trace. And that trace becomes a thought. That thought grows into an emotion. And that emotion lingers. She might reread it. She might even smile at her phone in a crowded room. That's not just cute. That's neurochemistry. You're activating dopamine and oxytocin, the very chemicals tied to bonding, reward, and rewire. This don't need about being poetic. You don't need to write a sonnet. You don't need to write a sonnet. What you need is clarity, intention, and presence. Before sending any message, ask yourself, am I adding something to her day, or am I just asking for attention? Because attention that is given with depth is 10 times more attractive than attention that is demanded without meaning. And here's the secret: consistency without predictability. A powerful message works not only because it's unexpected, but because it feels authentic. You're not trying to impress her. You're trying to impress her. You're trying to reach her. And when she feels that, even on a subconscious level, it creates a loop in her mind. She doesn't just think, that was nice. She thinks, he's different. And that's where desire begins to deepen. So the next time you're tempted to send an empty, quick message, pause. Remember this. She's not just scrolling. She's sensing. She's interpreting. And if you get this right, you won't have to wonder whether she's thinking about you. You'll know she is. Because a man who communicates with intention doesn't just grab her attention. He earns her reflection. Now let's go further. Because it's not just about hitting send. Intention without execution is just an idea that never lived. If you truly want her to think about you all day, the message itself matters. The content, the structure, the emotional tone, the unspoken subtext. That's what determines whether your words land or fade away. Here's the truth most men miss. Women don't remember generic phrases. They remember how your words made them feel. Which means the messages that stay with her aren't the ones with perfect grammar or flashy emojis. They're the ones that resonate emotionally, without her needing to explain herself. The ones that feel like they were written just for her. How do you do that? 3 things: personalization, emotional specificity, and timing. Personalization is simple but powerful. It could be a reference to something she mentioned in passing, a callback to an inside joke, or proof that you're paying attention. That matters because attention is affection in action. When a woman realizes you don't just hear her, but actually listen and remember, it signals maturity. And that's rare. That's magnetic. Then there's emotional specificity. The difference between saying, "I miss you," and "I keep hearing your laugh in my head," and it's making this whole day feel lighter than it should. One is generic. The other is vivid, visceral. Why does that matter? Because memory is tied to emotional intensity. The more specific your language, the more it imprints on her mind. That imprint becomes something she revisits, even without realizing it. You're not just sending a text, you're planting a thought. And then, timing. This is an art. A message that arrives at the right moment feels cinematic. Imagine she's stressed, caught up in her day, and suddenly her phone lights up with, "I don't know what today is throwing at you, but I hope you haven't forgotten how powerful you are." That lands differently, not because of the words alone, but because it shows attunement. You're not reacting, you're anticipating. That's psychological intimacy. And when she feels understood like that, she doesn't just feel loved, she feels held. But here's the catch. None of this works if it's performative. Women can sense the difference between words designed to pull a reaction and words rooted in sincerity. She may not explain it, but she will feel it. A message grounded in truth bypasses her defenses. It doesn't just get read, it gets absorbed. And that's the whole point. Because in today's world, attention is currency. But emotional relevance, that's what makes a message unforgettable. It's not about cleverness, it's about clarity. It's not about saying something new, it's about saying something true. And truth, spoken with tenderness, always lingers. So when you ask yourself, what should I send her? The better question is, what do I want her to feel when she reads this? If you can answer that honestly, you'll never have to second guess your message, because you'll know you're not just writing to her, you're reaching her. And the message that reaches her heart is the one she'll carry in her mind. Let's bring this full circle. Sending a thoughtful message is powerful, yes, but what happens after? Because a message without follow-through is like a promise written on water. It feels good in the moment, but it disappears as soon as it's tested. If you want her to keep thinking about you, it's not just about what you say, it's about what you do next. A message can plant a seed, but that seed only grows with consistency, warmth, and care. That's how presence turns into impact. What sets a man apart isn't just his words. It's how his words align with his actions. That alignment builds trust. It shows her, I'm not here just for attention. I'm here for connection. When your message isn't just a spark, but the start of a pattern, she starts to believe you're not just passing through her life. You're showing up for it. And that's unforgettable. So, if this message resonates with you, don't let it end here. Subscribe to Magnetic Mindset, because we're going to keep diving into what makes love last, what keeps desire alive, and how to create connections most people only dream about. Hit subscribe, turn on the bell, and let's grow together.